Hey guys, this is Frank Yecker, and you're listening to Submission Radio.
Hey, this is Rich Franklin.
What's up, everybody? This is Chris Lieben. This is Diego Sanchez. Randy Couture.
Alistair Overeem.
Hi, this is Stephen Bonner.
This is Don Fry.
Hey, I'm Phil, Mr. Wonderful Davis.
TJ Dillashaw.
You're listening to Submission Radio.
Submission Radio. Submission Radio.
Submission Radio.
You're listening to Submission Radio.
Welcome to Submission Radio. It's Wednesday, August 8th, episode 166. Dennis Gradov here with Kasper Ozolowski. After taking a little bit of a trip over the pond, Cass, towards Sydney and getting some interesting information from a little-known man called GSP.
Never heard of him. Who is that guy?
Had to Google him before we spoke to him.
Yeah, turns out he's pretty successful in this sport that we cover. And it was an honor to meet and have a sit-down, a one-on-one chat with a guy who many consider the GOAT, if not at least one of the GOATs. And the interview's obviously on our YouTube channel now, and it's doing pretty well. So I think people have enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we went up there, we interviewed GSP. By the way, he's doing a tour with Fast Track Events. He's doing an evening with GSP. They just did the Sydney show, but there is a show coming to Melbourne on Saturday, and I believe a show coming to Brisbane on Sunday, Cass.
Yeah.
So everybody can still jump on and grab the tickets. These shows, we've sent a lucky winner from our Facebook page to the show on Facebook, Mark Fellows, and he messaged us and told us he really enjoyed the show in Sydney. So we'll be at the show in Melbourne. It looks like a really fun time. You guys should jump on, grab your tickets. I believe the tickets, Cass, it's GSP Live. Let me have a look.
.com.au.
Yeah, gsplive.com.au. I believe he's doing some seminars, some dinners. There's a lot of stuff for you guys to check out. And with me and Casper, he was a really good guy. He had a lot of interviews that he had to do back to back. He was under a lot of pressure, but he spent some time. He sat down with us at an allocated table location, and we had a lot of fun. Took photos with everyone, so couldn't have had a better experience meeting GSP. He's a great guy.
I will say, I said the same thing about Ronda Rousey a while back, and I'm always amazed by fighters who do so much media, repetitive media, and literally GSP, there was like a big room, there was all these different tables set up, and it was like a connect the dots maze map, just like, all right, now you got an interview here, now you got an interview there. I mean, how many interviews do you think he did that day? One-on-one interviews?
20? It was a lot, but
20, maybe more?
I think the problem is as well, they primarily just asked him about Conor McGregor and Khabib. So we were a little bit worried by the time that he got to us, he'd be a little bit fried with the same questions and stuff like that.
And he did a 30-minute press conference before all those one-on-ones. But the thing
and he only flew in the night before as well.
Yeah, I think he was fueled purely on coffee and sexiness. But the thing that impressed me is that every time he answered a question, every time he did an interview or watching some of the other ones done, he treated every question like it was the first time he was ever asked that question. He gave thoughtful answers. You could see he was really listening to people. He never just zoned out. And he really gave everybody, every interviewer, not only politeness and kindness, but the kind of respect, not only as a human being, but just with their questions. Made everybody feel special. And I just thought, Jesus, I don't know if I'd be able to handle, answering the same goddamn questions about who I'm going to fight next. Conor McGregor, Khabib, If you watch that interview that we did, you'd think it was the first time he was asked those questions. So a lot of respect to GSP for that.
Yeah, and we got to know the promoters, and they said he was great behind the scenes. And just letting you guys know, I mean, a silver ticket, which is 69 Australian dollars, gets you a tour program, also gets you a chance to ask GSP a question during the Q&A. So I reckon if you're a fan of GSP and you don't have much on the Saturday night or Sunday night, and you're in Brisbane or Melbourne, and that is at the Brisbane Convention Centre on Sunday, and at the Melbourne Convention and Entertainment Centre in Melbourne on Saturday, if you don't have much going on, I reckon pop by. I reckon it'll be a little bit of fun. And from what I understand, he really takes the fan questions and really gives it a good answer. So it's the same thing as with the media and the press conference. I think GSP will give you guys a good opportunity to sort of ask interesting questions. And plus, I reckon I'm interested to find out what some of these Q&A questions are going to be, because the fans always bring the action when it comes to kooky, weird questions. So I'm guessing it's going to be something to do with dinosaurs and aliens and something weird and crazy. If you're a fan listening to this, I'd say maybe steer away from this whole Conor McGregor thing, because they'll probably get answered in the first sort of part of the interview section of the show, and go to something crazy that you've never known about GSP before and wanted him to talk about. That'll be interesting.
The crazier the better. I guess it's good if you're a fan, because this thing, sometimes you watch interviews or scrums or press conferences or whatever, and you're like, they didn't ask my question. If I was there, I would have asked this or that. There's something burning that I've always wanted to ask. Well, here's your opportunity. You can go and literally ask whatever question you've always wanted to ask GSP about. And also, we'll be there. So if you see us, come say hi, and we can have a chat and get to know you guys. But we do have a sexy show. We got some sexy guests. James Vick, fresh off this hot press conference over this weekend, where they did the announcement for Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov, and a whole bunch of other fights were there. He had a lot of back and forth with Justin Gaethje. He's going to be on the program chatting to us. He's the first guest on the list. We're going to be chatting to him in minutes, if not seconds. Dan Kelly is on the program. Some interesting news. People on Twitter have already sort of figured this out. Dan, it's not really a greatly kept secret, but it looks like Dan Kelly's angling for his final ever retirement fight later on in the year. So we want to speak to him about that, ask him if it is indeed his retirement fight, and if he is retiring, what exactly is behind all of this and that decision. Also, Bas Rutten returns to the program. It's always fun with Bas Rutten. Last time he was smoking a cigar. When he spoke with us, he was sitting on his front porch. I'm curious if the cigar will be in action again, and there's a whole bunch to talk about. During the program, obviously, with this McGregor-Khabib announcement, we're going to be talking a lot about that throughout the show. We've also got Luke Thomas on the program, so we're going to be speaking to him about that. Also, there's Nate Diaz situation with him storming off. There's a lot to speak about. There's a lot of people to talk to. It's going to be a sexy show, isn't it, Dennis?
Yeah, I mean, with Luke, it's an interesting thing. We've had a relationship with him for, a number of years now, and he's always been a great guy behind the scenes. So I feel like every time we get him on the showcast, it's a chance for him to sort of hang up his MMA hour, Luke Thomas show hat on the coat rack or whatever, on your hat rack. Coat rack, why would you? Anyway. And sort of be himself and just talk a little bit of shit with the boys down here in Australia. So we'll be talking shit, no doubt about it, and having a bit of fun with Luke Thomas. Look forward to that at the end of the program. And also, Cass, as we wrap up, I might have mentioned Mission Impossible last time on the program. Well, I have watched the movie. You've watched the movie as well, I believe. Mm-hmm. So some quick Timothy Johnson mustaches. That's during the outro after Luke Thomas at the end of the program. It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. People are saying this is the best Mission Impossible of all time. Did it live up to the hype for you? Did it live up to the hype for me? How many mustaches is it going to get? Find out. Stay tuned till the end of the program.
Yeah, it's always good to hand out a few mustaches, so I'm looking forward to that. Just quickly before we cut to our first guest, you can follow us on Twitter at Submission Radio. Now, for years and years, we've been saying at Submission AUS. Our Twitter handle has actually changed thanks to a man by the name of Ray Ray. You can follow him at The Mind of Ray Ray. He is a badass gangster MMA photographer. You can check him out. You can check out his work. Every time I see his display picture, I just think he's hitman. He looks like an assassin. But basically, he's helped us change the Twitter handle, and he's helping us with our social media as well. So hopefully in the near future, all our social media will simply be at Submission Radio. But for the meantime, if you're looking for at Submission AUS, it no longer exists. Our new Twitter handle is at Submission Radio. And of course, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Submission Radio AUS. Don't want to forget the S like I did last week, and you reminded me, Dennis. And you can chat to us, you can message us, you can DM us, you can also email us at info@submissionradio.com, and we can chat further in there. Anyway, it's enough rambling. Without further ado, our first guest is on the line. I'm very excited. And Dennis, I believe you're about to introduce him.
All right, guys. Our next guest is finally set to fight in the main event as he takes on Justin Gaethje at UFC Lincoln on August 25th. Currently on a 4-fight win streak. The Texecutioner himself is back, James Vick. Welcome back to the program. It's great to have you, man. You're joining us from, it looks like, a comfortable couch, possibly in your house.
How's it going, guys? I'm happy to be back on the show, and I'm actually at an extended stay hotel right now because my girl and my baby's up here visiting me for like a week during camp. So we're over here at this extended stay right across the street from the gym.
Very nice, man. So it's a bit of a family affair. I was going to ask you, because obviously fireworks between you and Justin this past weekend as you guys put on a show in your first big UFC presser. We're going to ask you how you enjoyed LA, but we know you had fun because there's this picture on Instagram of you, Mike Perry, Israel Adesanya, and Darren Till. Everybody's mean mugging except for you. You've got the biggest smile on your face. You look like a kid on Christmas. We can tell you had a good time there.
Yeah, it was a good time, and yeah, I guess I didn't. I guess it was supposed to be understood we were all supposed to mean mug. I don't know.
You didn't get the memo.
Didn't get the memo.
Let's talk about the face-off that you had with Justin. There was no smiling there, James. What did you see when you looked in his eyes and finally sort of came face-to-face with him after all this time?
I mean, I didn't really see a lot. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, he's not afraid. I'm not going to act like I saw him being scared. I think that he just, I don't know. I just saw a dumbass. I saw a dude who really just, I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't think he wasn't trying to really intimidate me. And I wasn't trying to really intimidate him. We were just looking at each other, but I really just didn't see much from the guy.
It was interesting because when you guys had your back and forth during the press conference, you sort of went on to sort of say that he's beaten tomato cans and that, he doesn't belong in the UFC and he's on a losing streak. And he sort of had this response that, yeah, but I've got more money with you. And I know a lot of people sort of on Twitter thought, wow, that's a 10-8 for Vick right there. Why do you think he went with that comeback and sort of, rather than looking at his own record or anything, sided the money part?
Really, there's nothing else. What could he say? Neither one of us are making the type of money to be bragging on a big press conference like that, like we're rich or something. Come on, man. We're not McGregor. We're not George St. Pierre. We're not even world champions yet. So we ain't making that type of money to be bragging like we're rich or something. The dude really did. I kind of felt bad for him after going back and watching the press conference. He just didn't have anything in the arsenal. He thought he was gonna be slick, and come out with the stuff he said. I didn't, and I felt like I did a good job. I didn't attack him first. I just rebutted back off of what he said. They asked me a question first, and I answered it. Didn't even mention him. I answered the question, and then he starts popping off when they ask him a question. So then I went back at him, and then he randomly brings. I guess he felt dumb after getting clowned on that first question. So then he comes back at me, tries to ask me another one, and then I clown him again. So I felt like I killed the dude in the press conference. To be honest with you, I felt like there was nothing else he could really say.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago that he actually said in an interview that he was going to slap you when he saw you next. So did you see him much before or after the press conference? And did he say anything to you? Did he try to approach you to deliver on this promised slap?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. What's funny is I come. So I knew that the UFC needs to do a better job of this. They're lucky we didn't fight, because I get to my hotel. The car drops me off. I come up to the front desk. The first guy I see at the front desk is Justin Gaethje. He's all by himself, and I'm by myself. And I just look over at him and smile. I look at him and smile, and then he looks back at me over his shoulder, and then he turns back around. He's handling his business, trying to get checked into his room. Then he gets his bags and he walks by, and then we just mean mug each other for a second and keep walking. And he's leaving the desk, and I'm going to check in at the desk, and that's all it was. And then later on, after the press conference, me and one of my old coaches that was out there cornering one of the fighters, we were going to go hit pads downstairs at the hotel that the fighters from this weekend's fights were fighting in, and we get on the elevator, and it's Gaethje and his whole team are there.
Oh, wow.
His manager, me, all of them. And I just walked right in with him, and then he just made a comment. He's like, "Yeah, I don't fight for free," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't either, so we're good," And then I know his manager Ali very well, so I've always been really cool with him. So like I said, I'm not. It's nothing personal. I'm not trying to the stuff I say about him, I do believe is true. I do believe everything I've said about him is true in my opinion. But I don't have anything personal against Justin Gaethje. He's just in my way to becoming a world champion, and this is I'm going to change my life with this fight. This is the biggest opportunity I've had, and I'm gonna shine. I'm doing everything right that I need to do to get to where I need to get to, and he's just in the way.
Absolutely. Just quickly, on a side note, because you were there and you saw it firsthand, what was your reaction when Nate Diaz stormed out of the presser once the Conor Khabib promo started rolling?
I didn't even notice. I turned around and looked at it, and then I turned back around. I was like, "Oh, where'd he go?" Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That he's kind of weird. So I don't know any more about what he's thinking than anybody else.
It's interesting because obviously it's a huge fight, and there's a lot of big fights in your division. Are you sort of, with Al being out, is Justin sort of the best case scenario for you? And what do you think about these massive fights? Dustin versus Nate, Khabib versus Conor. We were just with GSP 2 days ago, and GSP wants to sort of maybe even get into that division as well. It's definitely the hottest lightweight has ever been in a long time.
Yeah, it's a deep division. It's hard. I have 9 wins in the UFC, and I'm just now getting a top 10 guy. I will say, for me to get Gaethje, it does. I do appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate it because none of those other guys would fight me. They've been offered fights. Kevin Lee, Michael Chiesa, these guys have been offered fights, and they won't take them. They will not take them. And he agreed to fight me. Granted, it was because his opponent pulled out or whatever, but at least he's not a pussy. At least he took the fight. So I do respect the guy for doing that for sure.
Where do you think this one sort of puts you after the win? Not so much in terms of rankings, but like you mentioned, the hard thing for you has always been fighters not accepting fights with you. So if you beat Justin Gaethje here, do you think that puts you in a better spot? You would theoretically be ranked at number 7. Do you think that makes you a bit more of an appealing name? Or do you think you might still encounter that problem where fighters, would not really be that keen on fighting you?
Well, with me winning a main event, I think that's the most important thing. Not even the fact that Gaethje's ranked higher. If I win, I win a main event, I feel like that's gonna propel me into more superstardom. And there's still several guys ranked above me that are not gonna agree to fight me 100%. They're just not gonna agree to fight me. But there's a couple that they're gonna have to. I don't know who they're gonna offer me after this fight, but there's a few of the guys, the way things are tied up in the division with Conor, with Khabib, and with Nate, Poirier, some of these guys are going to have to fight. So we're going to see what's offered next.
You mentioned his name before, so I just want to quickly get your thoughts on it. Michael Chiesa, we've spoken to him before. He didn't really want to talk to you about you before this Pettis fight. Didn't really give you much thought. What did you think of his performance against Pettis? And is he still a guy that's on your radar, or now that he's lost, is he sort of behind you?
No, he's not on my radar anymore. It's not because he lost. It's because he's been punking out, and I've been trying to get a rematch with this guy for almost 6 years now. I mean, I publicly, practically begged this dude to fight me, and how many more times do I have to keep begging this guy to fight me? I mean, you have to just keep going at somebody over and over. It makes you look bad. You know what I'm saying? When you do that. So I'm done with the guy. If him and Kevin Lee both, you know what I'm saying? Both of them have turned down multiple fights with me. I have text messages proving that they've turned down fights with me. So if they ever deny it, then I'll expose it, But it's just I'm not going to chase these guys anymore, especially once I get ranked up there. I'll be ranked above him at that point. It's not that I wouldn't want to avenge that loss, because I always think about avenging losses. But especially for someone who's really hadn't lost very much ever, in my amateur boxing, MMA, and kickboxing all combined, I haven't lost many fights, and they do bother me, because I consider myself, a winner, and I would love to get those losses back. But I'm not even worried about that guy, and I'm not gonna call him out, try to fight him. If he calls me out now, I'm gonna be like, well, y'all need to pay me more money because I begged to fight this guy for 6 years, and now all of a sudden this motherfucker wants to fight me.
Well, just quickly on that, you mentioned Kevin Lee. He's trying to angle for a fight with Al Quinta. Do you find it funny that now that you're sort of booked, he's sort of calling out Al, but he was never really responding to you back when you were sort of putting out the challenge to him?
Yeah, for sure. And here's the thing. After I win this fight, I'm going to be ranked above Al. But fuck Kevin Lee. If they want me to fight him, they're going to have to pay me more money too. Because I've called this guy out multiple times. He's turned down 2 fights of me. Physically, he has turned down 2 fights with me. I have text messages to prove this from UFC matchmakers, Joe Silva, back when Joe Silva was still here, and Sean Shelby both. So if he and I've said this publicly that he's turned down fights with me, and he's never really denied it. He just kind of just sidesteps the question. So 100%, I've been saving these messages for years. The guy has turned down fights with me, and I'm not fighting him now unless I get paid at least as much as he does. Because what the fuck is the point? Why do I have to keep calling these guys out? And then I'm not on their schedule. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we all needed fights, and if he wants to fight a guy ranked below me, then he can. After I win this fight, I'm gonna be ranked, above Al. But I appreciate Al. I really do. Because without Al pulling out of this fight, I wouldn't even have got the Gaethje fight. So I appreciate Al. Me and Al are longtime friends. We lived together on the Ultimate Fighter show together. So I appreciate it. And, I don't care if Kevin Lee and Al fight. Good for them. I hope they, get paid and have a good fight. I don't even care about Kevin Lee anymore. Fuck him.
I know obviously you're on this quest for greatness. We see all over your Instagram, you feel like that title is coming. You're on a great win streak at the moment on 4th. Justin Gaethje would make it number 5. GSP the other day saying that he's interested in facing the winner of Khabib and Conor next. I guess people get a little bit nervous when GSP sort of enters the picture just because of what happened at middleweight. Would it bother you at all if GSP sort of jumped the queue and jumped in there and got that title shot next?
I mean, I'm not delusional like some of these other guys are. I mean, of course Conor's going to come back and get a fight. Of course GSP is going to get the fight, and it may be a year and a half before a legit contender that has earned his right gets that. GSP hasn't earned that right, but GSP is still one of the greatest fighters of all time. So of course he's going to come in and get his choice, and he should. You know what I'm saying? He's been in the he defended his belt at 170 crazy number of times. He's a 2-division world champion in 2 different weight classes. Of course he's going to come back and get that title shot if he wants it, and I'm not going to hate on that. And whatever, there's a couple of other guys I would gladly fight.
Mm-mm. Well, we know we don't have much time with you, so just quickly, when it comes to Justin, let's get the prediction. You've seen him face to face now. This fight is a lot closer. It's not far away. How do you think this goes down? How do you see yourself beating him? How do you see this fight playing out?
I think I'm going to knock him out. I think I'm going to finish him and knock him out or choke him out. I think that the way he fights and the damage he takes, we're not going 5 rounds. Either my leg ain't holding up or his chin ain't. And I'm not worried about the guy's leg kicks. I'm fully aware of what he does, but I lived in Holland for over a month. I've trained with world-class Dutch kickboxers before. I'm not worried about what he does. I think that he's not a guy that's going to stay on the outside of me and, me just pick him apart, because he's willing to take 3 or 4 punches to land a kick or his own punch. So he's not going to last more than 3 rounds before he gets knocked out, because he's going to take too many shots, or I'm just going to hit him with a clean one early and knock him out.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't got no defense.
I was going to say, after his last fight, he mentioned how he needs to change things. He might sort of use his wrestling. Do you think there's any chance this is the first fight where we see Justin Gaethje sort of bring out a new Justin Gaethje, rely on his wrestling pedigree? And do you think that's even possible for fighters sort of this late in their career to make these kind of drastic changes in their game?
I don't really understand if he did try to wrestle me, which I've been wrestling, for a long time myself. I don't understand what his end game would be. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 10 years. The guy, if he got me down, I would get up immediately. There's no one been able to hold me down. And any of the guys I fought have not been able to hold me down. No one's ever been able to do any damage to me on the ground. Justin Gaethje probably couldn't even pass my guard. And I would get up immediately, and it's just going to drain his gas tank trying to wrestle me. So if he does that strategy, maybe if he got a takedown on me, and once I got up immediately, I think he would abandon that strategy immediately, because as he said before, he don't like wrestling because it gasses him out. Well, I'm not the person to gas out against. I have some of the best cardio in the whole UFC, so I'm not the guy to be gassing out against. Hopefully, sure, he can come out and wrestle, because the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to make him more tired than it is me. It's going to make him way tireder faster as well.
Well, guys, make sure you follow James on Twitter and Instagram at JamesVickMMA. He's taking on Justin Gaethje August 25th. That's 26 in Australia and New Zealand in the main event of UFC Lincoln. Thank you so much for taking the time, James. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, this is Tony Okagui Ferguson, and you guys listen to Submission Radio. Keep tuning in, guys.
All right, guys. Our next guest has been described as a national treasure. John Kavanagh calls him his favorite fighter. Take that, Conor McGregor. A pioneer of Aussie MMA and the highly decorated general of Dad's Army. Dan Kelly himself. Welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you for the roll-in. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'll tell you what, man, there's a lot of credentials there that need to be added to Wikipedia. So we were innocently scrolling through Twitter the other day, Dan, when we saw another call-out come your way. Zach Cummings wants to face you on December 2nd, December 1st in the States at UFC Adelaide. Tell us, what did you think when you saw that coming through? You'd be used to these kinds of call-outs by now.
I am. I was just sitting there minding my own business. And yeah, it popped up, and I was very excited by it. I mean, obviously, I'm coming towards the end of my career, and that's a matchup that makes a lot of sense and is also very suitable for me. He's got a good record. He's a little bit older. He's 34, and he's a grappler, so it's always fun to go against grapplers. I've got good records against grapplers, and yeah, I jumped on it and said, oh, okay, that'd be interesting, and plus, if I can get it, it'll be my last fight. This would be the swan song and the farewell.
Wow. So I guess let's talk about that, because that's the big news. So when did you make this decision that this is going to be your retirement fight?
It's been coming for a while. I'm 41 in October. Obviously, I'm on the biggest skid of my career by far in terms of results. The last fight really annoyed me because I did everything properly in terms of preparation, and it was an injury more than anything else. I mean, the knuckle of his thumb went into my eye, not his finger. It was a fair punch, but it's taken two months for the eye to get right. I've just started back training, and yeah, I don't want to finish. I don't want to finish over the other side of the world. If I get the opportunity, I want to finish at home, and then go on to the next phase of my life.
Do you reckon there's any chance if you have a big performance in Adelaide, you might consider doing one more fight, or is that something you want to make clear before you go in there?
Make very clear this is it. This is it. Either Adelaide or early next year. There's rumblings and rumors of a fight show in Melbourne. Either one of those. But I want to finish here. No, I think I put on some pretty good performances in the UFC in Australia, and the crowds have been right behind me, and I'd like to finish that way here. Added to which, my eldest son's a little bit older now. I want him to be involved too. He's in high school now. I want him to be involved a little bit. I've always been very sure to keep them separated from that, but he's nearly 13. He's old enough to just experience that with me. Added to which, I see what Jake and Mick have got, which is very special, and I'm very close to those guys. And also Jimmy Crute having his dad over at the Contender Series, and obviously Jimmy trains with us a lot too, and it's a good friend of mine. Added to which, seeing Mark Hunt walk out with Noah in Perth, I want this last opportunity to share that with Eric.
Well, I was going to say that is interesting because you've always made it a big thing that you don't really let your kids watch your fights. I think you're sort of selective if they're maybe less bloody, if they're a little bit, I guess, depending on what the result is, you let them watch. So in terms of being involved, how would you have your son involved in this situation, in your fight?
I'd want him to walk out with me for the fight. I mean, yeah, I mean, everyone knows the history with Eric. I mean, I keep it a little bit private, but I think it'd be a special thing and a special moment to share with him, to be able to do that one last time with his dad.
Because obviously we know there's a lot of medical issues there. I'm wondering, Dan, is that something that you've spoken to him about yet, or is it something that you want to confirm the fight's happening before you bring it up with him?
I floated it by him a little bit.
What was his reaction when you mentioned it? Because I imagine that would be a very exciting thing to hear.
It's an exciting thing. He was a little bit worried to start with. He's like, "Oh, are you sure? I don't want to be a distraction." And I said, "Son, you're the last thing you would be is a distraction in that kind of situation." And yeah, he was excited. But I mean, there's a lot of things to happen. I mean, I'm out of contract now. I barely had any contact with the UFC. The eye's getting better. Oh, I'm in a little, not limbo, but it's. Yeah, we've got to see what happens. There's a lot of things to happen before I get the opportunity to do this one last time. But let's be honest. I mean, even though I'm on a 3-fight losing streak, I've still got a positive record in the UFC. I'm 6-4. I've had some really good wins, some really big wins at home too. I mean, the Kamosi fight, the Shoot Face fight, they were massive wins in Australia.
For sure.
Now got behind me there, so it'd be great to get one last roll of the dice, and then that's it.
So I guess what are you expecting from the UFC? Because I don't think you've been in this position before where you were out of contract, and it's been a little while since UFC London, since your last fight. Are you a little bit, I guess, concerned the fact that you haven't had any contact? You said you've had barely any contact. What kind of contact have you had?
So I sent an email to Mick. I mean, and the matchmakers are really busy, and I sent him an email saying, I injured my eye badly. Would have been nice to have a fairy tale finish in Australia, and went through that. And Mick went, "Thanks for the email. I hope your eye heals up." So it's not like he didn't say it. It was a very generic, like, "Thanks for the email. Hope everything heals up." And then I haven't had any contact since. So I don't know yet. I haven't. I wasn't thinking about it too much, and then when I jumped on and I'm getting called out again, that kind of pricked my ears up a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's not like it's not like I don't think I can still be competitive again. It's just this would be it. All good things come to an end, and I'd like it to be on my terms more than on the other side of the world.
Certainly, and I mean, we all know there's the knee. We've seen it being taped up before. In terms of how you're feeling physically, is that one of the aspects of wanting to retire as well, Dan? Just, are you feeling something different in the gym as you prepare for the fights? Do you feel like the recovery time and all that is starting to take a little bit longer than usual, or is it just the same it's been for the last sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 years?
No. It's much harder now. Turning 40 is like falling off a cliff. The big thing is at the moment, actually doing a lot of judo. So we've got guys. Obviously, I was the Olympic coach last time. We've got guys trying to qualify again, and I've been spending a lot of time doing judo, which is a lot harder on my body than the MMA training was, and the recovery is more painful, and the training's more painful. But I mean, I still did six days of training last week, and the week before I started rolling back into it. So I've only just been back at it the last couple of weeks because of the eye. But you know, it's still there. You know, the desire to do it's still there. But at the same time, I've got to go. No, that's enough. Time to concentrate on some other stuff as well. And linking in having the family involved potentially is a good way to finish.
And I was going to say, you know, like we can sort of sit here and outline all the logical reasons, and obviously that's sort of the main thing that you've looked at when making the decision. But there's also, you know, the human side, the emotional side. Like now that you've made the decision, you've said, look, I am going to retire. How do you feel about it? How does that make you feel knowing that, you know, this next fight is going to be the last one?
It's a little bit exciting.
Yeah,
well, in a way, because I'd do anything to be able to roll back the clock and keep going, but the body is struggling. At some point, you do have to stop. I mean, I've got guys who I coach not only in judo, in MMA as well. I mean, Big Ben Sassoli's in the Ultimate Fighter House at the moment. I coach him. We've got another group of MMA guys who are coming up. So it's a good time. It's just now that we're starting to get some of the Melbourne guys in, apart from it just being me and Jay, it'd be nice to cross over that way as well and have a show where, you know, Jimmy will definitely be on this one and probably the next one. Ben will be floating around by that time too, I hope. And it'd be good just to have that transition out.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because obviously a lot of talented guys that you're working with. Let's talk about the fight itself. Zach Cummings, what do you think about him as a competitor in a fight? I mean, you mentioned some of the aspects of the fact that he likes to grapple. He's a little bit older, but if you guys do end up fighting in Adelaide, how do you see that fight playing out, especially knowing that it's your last fight and having your son out there with you? Is there a particular way you see this one going?
Yeah, I think I'll finish him. He's got okay striking. He's a wrestler and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's very strong on top, and I've got a pretty good record in not letting wrestlers take me down. So I think it'll be a fight that's a lot of it stand-up, a lot of scrambling, a little bit like the fight I had against Rashad and against Shoeface. And yeah, I think it'll be an exciting fight for fans to watch too. It's a great matchup for me. I only ever have had trouble in my career against really heavy power punchers and guys who are high-level strikers. I mean, guys who are coming from a grappling background, crossing over, I've tended to do okay against.
And sort of going back to before, you were outlining some of the guys that, you know, you've got coming up. You've got the excellent gym, Resilience Training Center, and obviously you do a lot of judo as well. But is that sort of the next chapter of your life when you're sort of retiring as an active fighter? What's sort of going to be, I guess, your next career? Is it going to be to continue training guys, and that's going to be sort of the new Dan Kelly, or is there going to be something else that you're going to be sort of working on as well?
I'll keep training the guys. The gym's still growing. I'm doing a Wimp to Warrior series down here this year as well, which I'm really excited about. Do some other odds and ends, commentating and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll be happy to be able to keep doing that and be able to sit back and be satisfied with what I've done. You know, you get a little bit reflective as you get older. I've pretpretty much milked every bit of skill, strategy, tactics, body out of myself anyway. So I want to finish on a good note. I mean, fairy tales don't always turn out to be the best, but to have the opportunity to do that would be great. I mean, I've been to 4 Olympics, Commonwealth Games for wrestling. I've fought 10 times in the UFC now, so it'd be a nice way to finish and cap off a a good athletic career. That's the big thing as well.
And I got to ask, do you have a preference as far as which card you land on? Because you mentioned, we already know there's Adelaide, but you might see Melbourne at the start of next year. You would assume that Robert Whittaker would be on that card, a lot of other Aussies. And also, I feel like with Adelaide, you would have some connection to Adelaide, but you'd have more of a connection to Melbourne because that is officially your hometown. It'd be easier for the family and friends to come over. And I think you had so many fights in Melbourne as well. So would you sort of have a preference, or are you just happy to take either at this point?
At this point, happy to take either. If I was given an option, I'd take Melbourne every day of the week. But either one would be okay. Melbourne, I've had 2 great performances in Melbourne. I beat Steve Montgomery when I got to fight on the Rousey home card at Etihad, and then the Chris Camozzi fight, which the roof nearly raised when I won that one.
Yep.
And that was a little bit of a bloody affair. So I've got very fond memories of fighting in Melbourne. It would be it'd be the best finish, but I'm happy with Adelaide as well. It's Australia. The Aussie fans always get right behind me. In Sydney, in Brisbane as well, they always get right behind me. So I don't really mind it. It's only a road trip over to Adelaide from Melbourne anyway. And
I was just going to say, sort of, we'll let you go in a moment, but I do love this whole idea of you bringing in your son, him sort of being not in the cage with you, but sort of cage side, making that walk with you. And I kind of feel like it'd be a fitting end to your career because, people have always seen you as a dad. You're very open about that. You've got the hashtag Dad's Army, and here you'd be finishing your career and sort of highlighting the fact that you are a dad as well.
Absolutely. And I think I've been a pretty good ambassador for the sport down here as well. And it is a hard sport, but as I said before, Eric's old enough now to experience that and share that with me. And it'd be a really, really good end and a really good experience for us to share, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan, we're excited. I think all the fans need to get behind this fight ASAP. Jump on Instagram, jump on Facebook, tag Mick, tag the UFC, tag Zach, and let's get this fight happening. Hopefully in Adelaide, hopefully in Melbourne. Of course, follow Dan on Twitter at Dan Kelly Judo. Of course, go to the Resilience Training Center, resiliencetrainingcenter.com. It's a fantastic facility, and we're going to have a bunch of techniques coming out with you soon, Dan, where you'll be showing a bunch of stuff there. So we're very excited. Everybody get behind this thing. And Dan, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
This is Chael Sonnen, and you are listening to Submission Radio.
All right, guys. Our next guest is a UFC Hall of Famer, former heavyweight champion, and MMA icon. He joins us after getting back home from a pretty big adventure, spanning all over the globe. El Guapo himself, Bas Rutten. Welcome back to Submission Radio, wearing a sexy T-shirt. Look at him there. Great to have you. Very nice. I feel like we're in a Hall of Fame museum. When you put that on, it kind of means more for some reason. I don't know why.
We are all one. My cousin made that. My cousin, he really likes Genki Sudo, who used to be my student as well. And he made that big poster, "We are all one." Yeah. And my cousin started gathering like over 1,000 pictures on his Facebook page because he loves the message. So he made this T-shirt, and I said, you know what? I'm going to put it on. I'm going to show it. It's nice.
I like it. Can anyone get it anywhere else? Can anyone buy it, or is this just a Bas Rutten exclusive?
Well, no. Everybody can buy it, but they only have a few. And he just started with the company. We're setting it up right now on how to sell it on his website or whatever. We're gonna figure it out. But yeah, it's meant to be sold. So.
Nice. All right, watch this space then. Mac, welcome back to the show. You've had a crazy adventure. You were in Colorado, Long Island, Texas, Greece, all in one trip. Tell us about this adventure, man. What were we up to?
It was crazy. I did Colorado. I did the seminar with Dwayne Ludwig there, and there were some more guys, Nick Hammers and Philip Verlinde. Some other guys were teaching as well. From there, I went to a retreat. I do a Catholic retreat with a bunch of buddies of mine. We do it like once or twice a year. It's a real fun thing. We go hunting, we do everything, and of course we talk about the faith. From there, I went to, where did I go? Oh, to Long Island. Long Island, I went to Greece. From Greece, I went back to Long Island, and Long Island was the professional fight league both times. Mm-hmm. So I was there, and that's where I'm gonna go. I just came home on Friday. Saturday, watched the event. Went to the Staples Center here in Los Angeles, and now I'm.
I'll see you there live.
Professional Fighters League again. So. New Jersey.
Wow. Such a busy man. You mentioned Dwayne Ludwig. I just want to quickly bring him up because you put up a very, very fun photo on your Instagram of you guys from back in the day when you were hanging out, and he looked like a teenager, I want to say. He looked very, very young, and how long that relationship has been going on. Being there at the Staples Center and seeing TJ win the title and all the success that Dwayne's had, what did it sort of mean to you? And did you get a chance to hang out with him after the fight and sort of see him bask in the glory of the victory?
Yeah. Thankfully, I was sitting ringside. You're just out, and then I asked if I could escape through the tunnel, so I didn't have to go through all the to the normal people, because once people start making pictures, you're not gonna be out there for a long time.
Yeah.
So then I walked to the cage side, and they were still making pictures. And Dwayne, of course, called me inside right away. So there, I had the chance to go whoosh to TJ. Very important. We keep the structure in there. And to see Dwayne, of course, man. I mean, this is, for me, it's like I'm almost living my life through Dwayne. You know, he's one of those guys that is the most decent guy I know. I know there's people with these stories. I always said this, and I said this for a long time. Well, 10 years ago, they asked me, what do you think of Dwayne? I said, well, if I would have had a son, I want him to be exactly like Dwayne. That's how much I believe Dwayne is a good person. He's just an amazing guy. And to see what he does with my system that I did, and then he started adding his stuff, and dude, he went to town on it, start switching stances, all these crazy distractions. And now look at TJ Dillashaw. Look what he did with the camp from Alpha Male before as well, right? And then, of course, TJ, because he started getting real success with Dwayne there. So when Dwayne left, of course, he said, yeah, this is the guy who made me. I gotta go with this guy. So that's why he left Team Alpha Male and went over there.
It's interesting because I was listening to Luke Thomas and Brad Okamoto speaking the other day, and they sort of spoke about how even though Cody Garbrandt's the younger guy, TJ Dillashaw made more improvements in this short amount of time. This fight was even more dominant, and it kind of speaks to how he made the right decision to sort of leave Team Alpha Male. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but he sort of went on his own journey, and he stuck with Dwayne Ludwig, and look at him now. He's the champion, whereas Cody Garbrandt, he's a little bit stuck in this position where he sort of can't leave Team Alpha Male. I mean, if you were in Cody's shoes, what would you sort of do? And do you think maybe if he does want to beat TJ in the future, he should sort of branch out and sort of explore a little bit?
No, I think with him personally, what I believe is the anger. I think anger always gets in the way, and anger makes you load up, and you saw he was doing that. He didn't punch from here, back, he did this. He started loading up because he's very angry. You just could see it. When he would flow, I would ask him the question, what did you, when you fought Dominic Cruz? Were you angry? No, you weren't angry. And look what a performance you had. You see, so he's putting so much anger in that. And I think, it backfires for a fighter. I think anger controls everything. It makes everything negative. It doesn't make you fluid anymore. It doesn't, because you want to knock him out. And if you let it flow and just have fun, look at DJ. He walks in with a big smile on his face. He's so happy to be there. I met him like 10 years ago when Dwayne just started with him here at my gym. He was teaching a seminar here, Dwayne. And Dwayne already talked to me about him. He said, this kid is such an incredible athlete, Bas. You have no clue. Everything I say, he does all the time. He's always on time. He does everything. He improves every time. And like you said already, you see him improve every time. He's already at an elite level, but every time he gets better. And that's what you should do as a fighter. It's never good enough. It's like I always say, and I don't throw it in as a plug with an O2 trainer. I always say, there's no such thing as having too much stamina, and that's same as in fighting. There's no such thing as having enough technique. You can always grow, and there's always room for improvement. And he takes it to the heart, listens good, and boom, there you see the result.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. When you compare him to the TJ of the past, it's just a massive, massive transformation. Let's talk about some of the big news in the MMA world. While you were gone on the strip and away from the show, some big fights announced, Bas. Conor McGregor is officially fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov at the UFC 229. Give us your reaction now that this fight is official. How do you feel about this actually happening, and how do you feel about this fight coming together?
I love it. I love that Conor took this fight, because for Conor this is a very dangerous fight. And the reason I'm saying this is just look at the fight he had with Chad Mendes. Chad Mendes took him to the ground immediately. Well, Nurmagomedov is as good as a wrestler, maybe if not better. They're from Dagestan. They only got wrestlers. It's in their heart. It's in their, it's everything. I mean, they grow up there. It's the culture. So, and this guy who never lost, we know Conor is the striker. He's the submission guy. He's also a striker, and he will have enough defense in order to take him down. If there comes a takedown, that could be big trouble for Conor McGregor. Now, I don't know what Conor has been doing in the meanwhile, but still, if you fight a guy whose father is one of the most famous trainers out there, and who started probably when he was 3 years old wrestling, you know, you can't learn that in a year. Even if you train every day, yeah, you can stop some takedowns, but you know, once the fight is there and punches have been throwing in and, you know, little movements, little feints, it's very hard to stop the takedown. So for Conor to take this fight, you know, for me, I think he has a puncher's chance. Now, the good thing for Conor is that he has incredible timing and incredible accuracy. So if he can land a punch, although Khabib has never been knocked out, but still, he's never been hit by McGregor. McGregor can hit really hard, as we know, because everybody he hits, he destroys. It's like they say in Rocky. It's simple. Thing he hits, he destroys. And so you know, it's a big fight for him to stay away from the ground for 5 rounds. I look at the Nate Diaz fight as well. You see, once it goes to the ground, so it's a big chance he's taking. But I applaud him for it because a lot of people thought that probably he was not going to take the fight since the guy is such a good wrestler and wants to take this fight to the ground.
It sounds like your prediction for this one is Khabib. Would I be accurate?
It would if he doesn't get hit. You know, if you know, tell you the truth, I'm a huge Conor fan, but although I'm a huge Aldo fan, I thought he was going to have a lot of trouble with Aldo. Aldo, man, is an animal. Always said it. I always said he reminds me of Ramon Dekkers. The way he fights, everything is power, no jabs, no nothing, and then to just dismantle him and saying that before in the interview in the dressing room. Don't worry, guys, it's going to be a short fight. I'm going to get out within 30 seconds or within a minute, he said, and then he did it. You see, so if he can land a punch and if there's a lot of pressure on Nurmagomedov, I mean, he cannot lose this fight. Everybody is going to be on top of him. He's going to make a killing in money as well. You know, everybody wants to fight Conor because of the pay-per-view deal. So that's a good thing for him as well. I don't know if it puts pressure on him. I don't think so. I think these guys from Dagestan, they just go, it's their job. It's if they go bookkeeping or they go fight, for them, it's pretty much the same. So, yeah, once it goes to the ground, I see trouble there for Conor. But if he can connect, you know, if there's a stand-up, it's all about the connection. And if he connects, that could be a knockout coming from him.
It's interesting because you're a guy that's really improved your ground game when you needed to in your career. But looking at where Khabib is, I mean, he's an absolute master of grappling, wrestling, getting a guy down. He's probably the best in the game. Do you think, you know, at the level that Conor McGregor's at, and I'm talking about probably the level that we last saw him at in his last few fights, do you think he could learn enough to even sort of avoid these situations if Khabib gets in the clinch with him, gets in the takedown with him? Is there anything he can do? Let's say he's been training, you know, pretty hard over the last couple of months. Is there anything he can do? Is there anything he can learn between now and UFC 229 that would get him out of that predicament if Khabib got his hands on him?
Well, if they were smart, they kind of knew this fight was going to happen. So hopefully they knew this like 8 months in advance, you know, because that was going. We knew that was if he was going to take a fight, he was going to fight him. So if he then starts and his coaches, and you have like John Danaher or his coaches as well, but guys like that who are very smart submission guys, if they start picking out all the favorite things that Khabib would do, and just like pick 5 things that he always does since the first fight that he had and since the last fight, because it's in him. It becomes a habit, and once you find the defenses for that, yes. But if you're going to be a guy, I'm going to learn to defense for a triangle choke, a side choke, a rear naked choke, a disc choke. Then because of the trees, you can't see the forest anymore. That's what they say in Holland. There's too many trees, and that's why I think it's going down. But if you keep it simple and only there's a little gambles on the things that he mainly does, and find reversals for that, or just a safe place so that there's going to be a stand-up, then yes. But it's very hard because once you grappling and you get hit in the face, well, if you don't do that in the gym, that's a problem because that's an armbar. You see, it's little things like that make a huge difference. Just grappling or grappling with hitting, big difference. So I hope they grapple with hitting, with elbows, with everything. But normally they don't do that because elbows can cut you. And, you know, in training, you don't want to get cut because otherwise you can't work out anymore. So it's a hard one, very hard one. If he keeps it simple, yes. But if he tries to find a solution for every submission attempt, that's not going to work.
What do you think of his grappling partner, Dylan Dennis, and I suppose coach as well, saying that he believes Conor McGregor could submit Khabib? What do you think when you hear something like that?
That I don't think. Now, well, the coach is really good, you know, and I know that. I look at the fight again against Nate Diaz. That's where I look. I look at the fight against Chad Mendes. Chad Mendes, though, I can give him a pass on because he knew that he probably was going to make him tired. He took the fight on 10 days' notice. So maybe he said, I'm just going to lay on the ground. I'm just going to defend and not doing anything. So we don't really the submission skills. But the only losses he had are by way of submission in mixed martial arts. So, with that said, and you look at the record, then you think, I don't know if that's an accurate move. Maybe it's a way to try to get in the head of Khabib. And you never know. Listen, we saw Anthony Pettis against Benson Henderson, right?
Yeah.
There's an armbar. He just received his black belt and he gets submitted with an armbar. So, if he doesn't expect it, if he thinks it's going to be a walkover, that's where it gets really dangerous for him, because then he might leave an arm out or something out. But I don't see it happen. This guy with 25, 26 wins in a row now. So it's going to be very hard to beat him on the ground.
Yeah, and the fun thing is you've sort of got a potential fight lined up. Next, you got Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier. Not really sure what Nate Diaz is doing at the moment. He's sort of making it out like he may or may not fight Dustin. But assuming that fight does come together, who do you sort of have winning in that one? Do you think Nate potentially beats Dustin, and then you get the trilogy fight with Conor McGregor, or maybe you get Nate Diaz fighting for the title against Khabib? Or do you think maybe Dustin might ruin those plans?
Yeah, I think Poirier, man, I'm a huge fan of him as well, and he's a really incredible fighter. He's polished everywhere he is. That's why the diamond, If he's on. He's a great striker, great on the ground. He's got wrestling. He's got everything. So, with the Diaz brothers, they don't have knockout power. They have punches that will eventually lead you to a knockout because they punches and bunches. They throw a lot, and eventually, you're going to submit under it. But if you get countered with big, hard, powerful strikes, that could be it. And maybe set up a takedown. They're never going to expect you that you're going to take him down and then be on. As long as you stay in the guard or stay inside guard, half guard, whatever it is, there's not a lot that you can do. I know, listen, the Diaz brothers both are phenomenal on the ground, but everybody right now has their defenses ready and they know exactly what 2 arms in, 2 arms out. We know this by now. So it needs to be distraction. I think the guy on top has more submission possibilities, if he's of course not in the guard, than the person on the bottom, or when the person in the guard, if he's not as well versed in submissions, that's a problem. But I don't see that with Poirier. I simply don't see it. The only thing, the other thing I would say is that the Diaz brothers are known for having stamina to keep on pushing. So if he might run out of gas, everybody can get caught. I mean, we're looking at Dan Henderson versus Jake Shields all the way back. Everybody said nobody can take Dan down. Well, he was getting tired, and there was the takedown, and there he got submitted. You see, so it can happen. Fatigue makes cowards out of men, and fatigue takes technique away as well, because you don't want to spend a lot. So then there are chances that you're going to get caught. So if it goes into the later rounds, and if it's a main event fight, 5-round fight,
it's only 3. That's the interesting thing.
Oh, 3. So that's a good thing for Poirier, because if he makes sure that he can go full blast for the 3 rounds, then it's going to be a very competitive fight. That I know for sure.
We spent some time with GSP a couple of days ago. He's in Australia doing a tour at the moment, and he revealed to us that he is looking at potentially fighting the winner of Khabib and Conor McGregor, possibly in Toronto around December. Let me ask you, if you sort of
155.
He wants to go 155, and he's not sure whether the title's going to be involved or not, but if the title's involved, it would be better, but he's sort of looking at this as something fun for his legacy. I think it was one of the first times he really spoke about it. Let me ask you this. If you had to sort of choose who you'd rather see GSP fight in the super fight, what appeals to you most? A Conor McGregor GSP fight, or the allure of a Khabib Nurmagomedov versus GSP? Which fight sort of stands out to you as the more exciting, more interesting fight to see?
That's a hard question, but it's because more exciting as all around it, as the feeling, the live up to it, of course, Conor McGregor, right? I mean, you got the 1-punch knockout. If he lands it, it's going to be over, and but George is an incredible wrestler, so he will take that fight to the ground 100%, and I don't know if it's super going to be exciting. Now, if he fights Khabib, and he takes Khabib down to the ground, it's going to be exciting, because he will do anything in his power to try to go for a reversal, or to stand back up, or reverse. They go for submissions even. So the more exciting fight by itself would be against Khabib, I think. And the build-up and everything, if you talk about a fight like that and all the stress around it, that would be Conor McGregor.
Just want to switch topics a little bit. Obviously, Brock Lesnar is back in the UFC. Something that you predicted actually a while ago. I believe last year we spoke, and you said you believe Brock Lesnar is 100% coming back in 2017. Your prediction came true. A little bit off in terms of timing, but you did predict it. He is back, and it was pretty much for the reasons that you stated, the UFC needing stars and things like that. What do you think about him returning, though, to get an immediate title shot after all that controversy and obviously the failed drug tests and things like that?
It's not honest. I wouldn't say it's he deserves it, but it is what it is. It's a fight that everybody wants to see, right? And I think he's going to face a guy who's going to beat him. I truly believe that DC is going to beat him. The guy's so tough. Only knockout loss was against there was a high kick. We know that Brock is not going to throw a high kick, a knockout, and he doesn't have the tools to set him up with striking that John Jones had. Oh, by the way, tested positive for that fight. That's why, they overturned the whole thing. But still, he doesn't have that striking qualities. His most impressive work is power and his wrestling. And once he's on top, he's a very dangerous guy. But you're talking about a guy who's so hard to stop. Look what Velasquez did to Brock Lesnar. He's his training partner from DC. So I think that they're going to do the same thing. They're going to have to weather the storm early on in the fight because Lesnar is incredibly strong and he does have technique. And once he's on top, it's a very dangerous guy. But they will figure out how to weather the storm. And once it goes past round number 2, I think it's going to all play into DC's game. And I think he is going to stop him.
What do you think of Brock Lesnar and his legacy? Because obviously the PED thing with Mark Hunt sort of took some steam away from him. A lot of people are critical of Brock Lesnar because they believe he sort of got to the top quickly. And a lot of people are sort of, I suppose, pointing the finger at the fact that they believe he was on PEDs during his run. Where did he sort of rank to you as a champion in the sport and what he did when he was sort of fighting full time?
Well, I think that when you get clipped for something for PEDs, it's one of those things that you think, is this if a guy gets caught, is it really the first time, right? I mean, look at him, how big he is. So it's probably not. You're thinking about that, and that might tarnish it. But for a guy to come in and only have a few fights and fighting for the title and then winning a title, I mean, people have to respect that, And he didn't test positive for that fight. So he's a truly impressive guy. He really is. But I see as a big guy like that, once they start shying away from punches, it doesn't look good as well. I think if you would spend more time on mixed martial arts, go for 2 years, really get the striking under control so he's not shies away from punches anymore and actually goes in for an attack and don't push, but start punching with that strength that he has and explosive power, because he does have it. It's not like he has the slow twitch fibers. He's got the fast twitch fibers, so he's an explosive guy who can do it, but he just has to learn it. And I think once he would do that, then he could be really a force to reckon with. But I don't know, man. With all the everything around, still to pull off a heavyweight champion of the world in the UFC, I think it's pretty impressive, especially after such a short amount of fights. I mean, the 3 fights, his 4th fight was a world title. I don't know, but it was very close to that.
The other, by the way, Bas, we appreciate your time. We'll let you go in just a moment, but wanted to touch on this last fight, Darren Till versus Tyron Woodley. Obviously, Covington getting stripped of the interim belt, Darren Till being slotted in. Now he's the next challenger. But obviously, the controversy comes after he missed weight in his last fight. And so now we've got a guy who we don't really know if he can make the weight to make the title fight. And if he does, let's say hypothetically he beats Woodley, we don't know if he can continue to make the weight and keep defending the belt. So I guess, do you think it was a smart decision to put Darren Till in there? Do you think he deserves that shot? And sort of, do you think there should be harsher penalties for fighters who do miss weight? Because it seems like guys who miss weight, a lot of times the stats say they either win their fights, and in this case, they're rewarded.
Well, I would make a special contract for this, right? You miss the fight, you're out of the UFC. That's what I would say if I was Dana, or whoever writes the contracts. It's the same when I would fight John Jones. I would say in the contract says if one poke in the eye, he needs a disqualification or a red card immediately. Like things that happen over time and time again, you should just be warned for. And then Darren Till is going to if he's a smart guy, which he is, he's going to go, you know what? I'm going to make sure everything in my power that's not going to happen. Get a nutritionist to make sure that you're on weight way before the fight already. Try it out. Try it out like a month before if you can go to that weight. And once you can, stay on the same concept. Don't think that if that is an easy weight cut at the time, that it's going to be a walk in the park once you get close to the fight. Because once you get close to the fight, your muscles start working more. And once they start working more, they need to recoup. And once they recoup, they become heavier. They have to watch out for that. So test it out, but then don't get confident. Make sure that you make the weight, because then you're going to be the world champion. Who doesn't want to fight for the world champion? Then again, for the Professional Fighters League, we were here, and this guy, Efrain Escudero, I believe it was.
Yep.
I believe it was. Lost weight by 8 pounds. These guys are fighting for $1 million, and he lost weight by 8 pounds. You see, so some guys don't have that thought, I guess. I mean, he can be the champion of the world. I'm pretty sure, pretty confident that he will come in on weight. And if he's not, well, then he doesn't deserve to be in a fighting organization. If I was the promoter, I would say, if you don't make weight, you're out, because that's going to ruin the whole card. That's it. All eyes are going to be on that card.
It's interesting because Joe Rogan was talking about this topic, and he said, and I want to ask you this as well. He said he believes coming in overweight could actually be worse than someone in PEDs, because, for example, if you have two guys who weigh, for example, 130 pounds or something each, and one of them is on PEDs, there's an advantage. But if you have two guys and one guy is weighing in at 130 and one guy is weighing in at 160, he believes that weight advantage could almost be greater than if somebody was doing PEDs leading into the fight. He believes it's a big form of cheating. So I'm just wondering, from your perspective as a fighter and someone that's been in there with so many times, do you believe missing weight to the extent of a Darren Till? Yoel Romero missed weight a couple of times. The statistics sort of show the fights don't go to people's way if someone sort of misses weight and comes in heavier. Do you believe it is sort of a form of cheating?
Yeah, it is a form of cheating, but then you can also throw it the other side. If you come overweight and you're trying to weight cut and you try to your weight cut is going to be super stressful. And then if you don't make it, super stressful. Yes, you have the more pounds, but is it going to work to your advantage? I mean, you beat the crap out of your body in the last few days. The body is not going to really accept that. They're not going to be happy. It's not going to be happy with it. Maybe it's going to underperform. Yes, he has more weight, but you have that after a normal weight cut as well. Some guys, I heard the record one time with Chris Horodecki, 26 pounds he put on the next day. They said it was the highest number they've ever seen. It was in Chicago or something, I believe. It was an insane amount. So fighters, if you really know how to cut their weight and put it back on in a natural way, yeah, that's a problem. But I don't see that. If he really tried to cut those last, let's say, 5 pounds, and he did everything in his power to cut it, I think it works against him. I always said, and that was me at the time, especially with 2 pounds and 3 pounds, I would throw it the other way around. I would never say to the fighter, lose it. I would say, because that to me shows that I'm scared maybe of him. I would say, keep it. You're going to need those 3 pounds, because I think saying that has made more impact mentally than to let him lose those 3 pounds. But I'm talking 3 pounds. I'm not talking about 8 pounds or 10 pounds.
Just quickly, Bas, as we let you go, just want to get your thoughts on this Till Woodley fight. Who are you sort of leaning towards? Do you think that Darren Till sort of has the dangers and possesses the skills to potentially dethrone Tyron Woodley, who otherwise has been a very dominant champion thus far?
Yes, I truly believe he has. He's got that one-punch knockout power, beating Cerrone. I mean, that was already incredible. I'm a huge Cerrone fan as well. So for Darren Till to come in to do that, that was really impressive. He had some really great battles as well. But, I think Tyron Woodley is one of the most gifted athletes also that we have in the UFC. If he just lets it fly, if he uses his skill that God gave him and just let it fly and don't be worried about getting a counter hit or something that happens. I mean, he knocked out Robbie Lawler. I mean, think about that. If you look at that, if he just lets it go and fights with no pressure, I see a very dangerous Tyron Woodley. But, if he tries to play it safe, most of the time when you play it safe, you will get hit. I use always the example. I fought Vernon Tiger White all the way back in, that was 94, 95 in Japan. And the day before I went on the plane to go to Japan, I thought it was smart for me to go a little jogging instead of sparring. Idiot that I started running in the forest, and twist my ankle, right? So I'm falling on the ground. I'm laying there for like 30 minutes. I go, I got to go home. I got to figure this out, what I'm going to do. My ankle was swollen. And trust me, when I came in, I was acting, nobody would see that my ankle was hurt. In the fight, the first thing, and I told nobody. Nobody knew. My manager knew. Nobody knew for the rest. And he dove at my leg and he tried to toe hold on that foot.
Whoa.
You know, I think that, you know, if you're worried for something, you're going to get it. It's like you're sending out a signal unknowingly to the brain of the other person. Say, hey, wait a minute, go for that. Because it's really weird. If you don't want it to happen, it happens. You know, it's a thing that always happens. I always go back also when I was diving from boards. You know, I like to make somersaults and I'll do all that crazy stuff. And I always, when people would fall flat, they would go home and then the next day, but then they were scared. So if I would fall flat, I would immediately go back up and I would do the same thing again. You know, and if I would fall flat again, I would immediately go up and do the same thing again. You have to break that spell, so to say, because once you're afraid of it, it will happen. And that's the same thing here. If you're afraid to get knocked out, you're probably going to get knocked out.
Well, I hope none of us win the lottery this week. Bas, thank you so much for your time, guys. Make sure to pick up, of course, Bas' CBD oil and O2 Train. You can go to receptornaturals.com /Bas/Bas-Rutten- to grab your Bas CBD oil, O2trainer.com. Get fit for summer here in Australia with the O2 Trainer. We've seen some amazing stuff. And, of course, Twitter and Instagram, Bas Rutten MMA. Bas, of course, the PFL. Anything else coming up that you want to let the fans know about that they need to keep an eye open for?
No, for now, I'm not going to say anything. I say in November, I'm going to come out with a surprise. And I think a lot of people are going to really like that. So, yeah, that's going to be a fun thing. I'm really looking forward to that. That's why I don't want to say anything about it yet, because I want it to really happen, because it's a cool, really cool thing. So next week, the PFL in New Jersey. We go to New Jersey, and we're going to have a lot of fun. These guys, man, they're getting very close now. There's fighters fighting each other with 0 points.
Yeah.
And it means in order for them to make the playoffs, they're really going to have to fight. And like we saw, they're slaughtering each other. So the fans are in for a treat. Watch this show. It's on Facebook Live, and then afterwards we go on NBCSN.
Nice. We can't wait. And we got to get you back in November as well, obviously, to talk about your big surprise once you unveil it, man.
You know, I'll come on with you guys for sure. You guys are gonna really like it too much. It's when I got it, I go, okay, this is made for me. I think I got to be involved in this thing. So, yeah. But now you really want to know what it is. I'm not going to say it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bas. Have a great day. And thank you so much for joining us. It's always an honor to have you on the program.
You're welcome. Godspeed.
Godspeed. Bye-bye.
This is TJ Dillashaw, UFC champ. Listen to Submission Radio.
All right, guys. Our next guest is the new host of the MMA Hour, one of the good guys in the game and also one of the best analysts in it. You also know him from the Luke Thomas Show on Sirius XM Rush 93 and so much more. Luke Thomas, it's a huge honor. Welcome back to Submission Radio, man.
Pleasure is all mine, boys. It's been too long, but thank you for having me back.
You're a busy guy, Luke, so thanks for taking some time. I like that. What's going on in the back there? I've always wondered. Do you have some books there? Are these things that you read regularly? To the left or the right, it looks like you have some maps for some exotic islands where you've buried some treasure. Would I be accurate in that, or?
No, I don't have any exotic treasure. If I did, I certainly wouldn't have any books up here to tell you yokels about it. But no, so regularly, I don't know. I mean, it's either books I have read in their entirety or books that are like reference material. So people have asked me, have you read every book up there? Well, I mean, have you read the whole dictionary? I mean, no. But some of it I've read cover to cover, and then the ones I haven't are just source material. So literally, some of these are just books that were given to me. You can see let's see, I'm going to move here. 501 Spanish verbs. That's a reference for me, right?
give us one or two.
Okay. You want me to pull them off the shelf?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, what do we got here?
We're just making sure that none of them are like a secret passage into like a cave or the Bat Cave or something.
So I'll give you two that are like favorites of mine.
Yeah.
Let's see. And you can see this one is a little bit weathered. Right, this one's been through the ringer.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite books. It's by Philip Kitcher. It's called Abusing Science. It's essentially, this book was written, I think, in the maybe even maybe 60s or 70s. Certainly no later than the 80s. And it's essentially a book about why the case for creationism is bankrupt. Philip Kitcher is a very, very, very so inside of philosophy, there's many different worlds, and one of them is there's all the different schools of thought. I mean, I could sort of go through them, but in the philosophy of science world, Philip Kitcher is one of the titans, and this is a book that was needed. Yeah, when was this originally published? I don't know. I didn't pick this up until undergrad. Yeah, 1996 was its 9th printing. Wow. So I think this has been out for a while, but this is an absolutely seminal piece of work. You may seem dated and quaint by modern standards, but it's the way in which he laid it out. And then this one is one of my favorite books, really quite relevant even today. This is from a scholar who taught at Columbia University, one of the Ivy League schools here in the United States. It's called Covering Islam. It's by Edward Said. Edward Said is most famous. Actually, he was a literary professor. His most seminal work is Orientalism. There's a famous theory he had about how the West sort of viewed the Arab world. But anyway, this is about how the media covers the Arab world and the Islamic world. And what it says about the way in which news is delivered to you in a powerful country will be very different than the way the news is delivered to you in a weak country, and it will carry its own set of biases and its limitations. And as it related in the 80s, I believe, to the Arab world, you can imagine it was a bit of a tumultuous time. He wrote this work trying to understand how the West, from a news standpoint, told the world about the rest of the world as it relates to the Arabic world. And, since I repurposed this when the United States invaded Iraq, and it was to say that work was prescient and quite right was sadly quite true. So there you go.
Wow. It's just like my setup. Behind me, I have a little encyclopedia of Marvel comic books, and that got printed in 2015. And I think there was 2 or 3 versions.
Look on my desk. I'm not above it, my friend. Nice. I'm not above it.
But you weren't putting it in your picture. It was hiding behind the computer. So
this is a pro Chewbacca household. Don't forget it.
That needs to be on the MMA hour next week, Luke.
We'll send you the Submission Radio memoirs. Me and Casper are just penning them right now. A lot of sexual encounters with Ariel Money. Anyway, let's talk about the MMA hour, because we've been loving it, Luke. You've done such a great job with your new captain on the program. But we understand it can be a difficult experience walking into a program that's been iconic for such a long time and been, linked to Ariel for so long. So tell us, now that it's been some time, how are you enjoying the experience, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you found that you sort of overcame and still trying to overcome now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing because I had never done what this job required me to do, which is, as you quite correctly put it, taking over for somebody else that had been in a storied program. I'd taken over for Mike Straka on MMA Uncensored Live on Spike TV back in 2012, but that show had not been on the air for very long. And they were still trying to discover themselves and find the right formula. And, Mike was, he was great to work with, even when I had the opportunity. So the thing with Ariel was a bit different, right? Because he went on to ESPN, and I didn't get much. It wasn't exactly like a clear handoff because me and Vox were trying to figure out what was going to happen. And so it was just this weird time. So I had to kind of then step into it. And, I knew I couldn't people are like always compare them. And I understand because they're kind of on at the same time. And it was his program. And so it's a little weird. But the reality is, if you look at them and you really watch the content, they're not all that similar anymore. Certainly the interview portion, and okay, I mean, everyone does those. So in that sense, certainly that is there. But I've tried to figure out, and I told Vox this when I took over the show, like, I'm going to do the show I know how to do. And that's more or less what I've been doing on radio for about 10 years. I don't do my radio show on the MMA Hour, but the point being is, bringing in opinion elements. Starting next week, not every week, but certainly next week, I'm going to be doing the Monday Morning Analyst Breakdown. I want to have guests on as a bit of a transition period, but, I'm going to be moving into that. And then having the guests and having the listener interaction in the way that I like to have it with the sound off. And the good, I said this before, like, if you still want to see Ariel's show, boy, I've got great news for you. He's still doing his thing over at ESPN. It's just now you have another, you can add it on, you can have an alternative, you can have it whatever you want. But that's what I'm trying to do, is just the show I know how to do.
I think that's also a good thing because people really got used to sort of hearing you break things down in the Monday Morning Analyst. And I think people really enjoyed the stuff you did with the fighters, Chael Sonnen and Jimmy Smith. You had Dan Hardy, I think Sarah Kaufman most recently. But I think people sort of missed your opinion as well and sort of getting their fix. So that's a really good thing. And just quickly, Danny Segura, he's now in New York Rick's chair. How have you sort of enjoyed him being your co-pilot, so to speak, in this awesome adventure?
Yeah, he's great. And of course, I work with him on the beat as well. You know, he came, I think it's fair to say, and me too, when I first started out, you get put on camera and, you know, it takes some time to really, the truth is, like, I know, I mean, I'm not like a Danny Segura expert or something, but I do feel like I know Danny better than most. And there have been times where I've watched Danny, and it's not like he didn't have great opinions or he didn't understand the sport. I think he always did. But I think now you're finally starting to see out there in the world, I think the last 2 weeks, especially on the beat and the MMA Hour, you're just starting to see the Danny Segura that I've always known was there, that I've always been able to interact with. A guy who's funny, you know, who's got some strong opinions, who doesn't take shit from people, and yet is, you know, charming and a little bit understated in his own perfect way. So it's just been great to watch him blossom. It's been great to watch him grow into the role. And, you know, look, here's the truth. He's got several gears left to go, which I mean is a compliment. So it's been, honestly, it's been like, I knew he would be great, but it's just been great to watch him so quickly take to the opportunity.
I'm just wondering, with Danny, was he always sort of the guy that you were looking at being the co-pilot, or were there a couple of people that didn't make the cut that kind of were in your mind? People like, you know, Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, you know, I was looking at Conan O'Brien maybe taking, you know,
of course.
No, the truth is, I think Vox was looking at a lot of different opportunities, both for his chair as well as mine. They were all trying to find the right formula, but I think in the end, this was the one that worked. You know, Danny reached out to me years ago about like working with MMA fighting, and 99 times out of 100, I swear it's true, I'm like, either we don't have the opportunity or I'm not the guy who can make this call. But there was something about his pitch to me that was really interesting. And there was just something about his skill sets that I thought, you know, maybe we could use this guy. And, you know, then I sent it up the food chain and I had no say over it. And they brought him on. And I've just seen, as the challenges have been placed at his doorstep, his abilities are shining more and more. And like, as I said before, like, I think you're only beginning to see some of the things I've seen out of him. So the good news is there's a lot left of life for him to show.
Yeah, and that's amazing that what started off as like an email in your inbox, and now you guys are doing the MMA together. That's a crazy journey. Got to touch on some of the big things that happened this past weekend, Luke. Obviously, the biggest upset of the night, Demetrious Johnson losing to Henry Cejudo. An interesting thing, we spoke to GSP the other day, and he gave his take on it, and he basically said that this might be good for DJ because GSP personally saw his popularity rise a lot more after his loss to Matt Hughes than beforehand. He sort of cited the reason being that people can't really relate to people who are perfect, and sort of when you do go through adversity, when you do go through troubles, people want to see you come back. And he said that Demetrious may even become more popular now, sort of with his quest to regain the title. What do you think of that notion?
Well, first of all, why was he in Australia, GSP?
He flew down to see us. We asked him to come down. He said he had nothing better to do. Now, he's doing a tour here, actually. He just did a show in Sydney. Yesterday, he's going to be doing a show in Melbourne and Brisbane, Saturday and Sunday. And, yeah, me and Casper went up there to sort of promote the show. These guys called Fast Track, who brought down people like John Cena and Chuck... who was it, Casper?
Chuck Norris, Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme. They're like live shows. It's just a talking show, basically. He gets interviewed,
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah, well,
Thomas next.
Yeah, right. Believe me, I'd do it if they paid, but they ain't that interesting. You know, I think look, I certainly wouldn't discount the possibility that something like this can operate in the mechanism by which St. Pierre is talking about. But how old was St. Pierre when he lost to Hughes? I mean, that was what, his second or third UFC fight or something? Or I can't even remember where it was. It was very early in his tenure. He was in his early to mid-20s. I believe around that time. I want to make sure I get that right. I don't want to get that wrong.
Sure.
Very, very quickly if I can. But the point being is it was definitely early in his career. And I don't know if the Matt Serra loss did anything for him in that regard. So the point being is, it's not that I think that the idea that if you're perfect, people can't necessarily relate is false. It's that they have to work in certain windows. And yeah, I'm right. He lost to Matt Hughes in his third fight. He beat Caro, then Jay, and then a UFC 50 in 2004. Well, that was 14 years ago. That would put him at 23 years old. Yeah, I think back then it can definitely help you. And against an icon in the way that he lost. Cejudo is certainly very important for the sport in that he's the first, as you guys well know, Olympic champ, UFC champ at the same time. And that's a big deal. But the same mechanisms aren't in play. He didn't lose to a legend. And by the way, he was putting it on Matt Hughes folks forget before he lost. It was just sort of a mental error with the Kimura from side control. And so I wouldn't say St. Pierre is wrong. He certainly knows more about the game than I do. But the ingredients that were in place at the time that happened are very different than the ones now.
Well, Cejudo obviously wants the big paycheck. He wants the big fight with TJ Dillashaw. What do you think about this? Do you think there's an immediate rematch here? Because listening to DJ speak, it sounded like he almost wants to take a little bit of a break, heal from his injuries. It doesn't look like he's rushing to get back in there. Would you be a fan of seeing a Cejudo-TJ Dillashaw fight? And do you think Cejudo can actually pose a challenge to Dillashaw?
No and no. It's just not the fight I want to see. I mean, remember, he barely got by Demetrius Johnson. Now, that's obviously a major accomplishment, but the point being is there was a debate on the MMA Beat last week, like if you were going to do TJ-DJ, and this, of course, was before 227, but in your mind, if you were going to do that, which way would you do it, at 125 or 135? And I don't know how you can watch that fight and say to yourself, the winner of DJ Cejudo would give that guy at 135 a run for his money at 135. Now, maybe if you drained him and brought him up to 125, well, that gets more interesting. Now, I'm not saying promotionally that's a good or a great idea. I'm just talking about which fight is more competitive. TJ-DJ at 125 to me seems a lot more competitive at this point. So I just don't know why folks would think Cejudo off this win was look, it's a great win. But the reason why I'm a little skeptical about the upside of going to TJ is TJ might be the best pound-for-pound fighter in the sport. I'm not saying that he is, but if he's not, boy, he is knocking on the door. That guy is extremely talented. And so, a fight against that guy, you got to earn it. It's got to make real kinds of sense. And by the way, bantamweight is hot. The Dominic Cruz fight is something you could do. Marlon Moraes is something you could do. Rafael Sunsao was something you can do. I get that at 125, the rematch with DJ makes sense. But to your point, if he's injured, what are you supposed to do? And yeah, that's not so great, but there's no reason to throw the baby out with the bathwater. 135 is hot. Let's keep it hot. Let's see what TJ can do over there.
I am very excited to see what TJ sort of does next. I just want to quickly get your thoughts on him beating Cody Garbrandt, not only in dominant fashion, but even more dominant fashion than the previous time. I mean, he really sort of put out a statement, and it seems like for the time being, this is a fight and I guess a rivalry that people were saying, hey, there might be a rubber match after this if Cody wins somewhere down the line. I mean, for now, this rivalry seems pretty much done, and TJ looked pretty amazing in doing that.
Done for now. You never know down the line. Rampage is going to fight Vanderlei for the fourth time, and things can happen where he got smoked the first two times, and then he had his chance in the sun the third time. Here's my point though. You're just going to have a very hard time convincing me that Cody Garbrandt has reached his ceiling, and by that I mean, like, I don't think he's even close, to be honest with you. But there are a few things that I would have to change in order for him, or at least be somewhat altered, to get up there. Like, he's a phenomenal athlete, and everyone who's ever trained with him talks about what a good athlete he is. And he's got a lot of natural ability striking that you just can't teach. His vision in the pocket, his when he's diligent about his footwork, how fleet of foot he is. It's not just that he's a good athlete. He knows how to fight, but there are, like, no fighter is perfect, and he's got some holes. It just seemed to me that TJ was much more diligent in the space in between about erasing some of those differences. BJJ Scout was just one of the best guys out there, or girl, I don't know who it is. Yeah. Put out a great video just today, I think, talking about what was the difference between the first and second fight. And the answer is not much. Cody was winning some of those exchanges early, but when he just stopped fighting the way that he should have fought and has fought previously, otherwise staying flat-footed in the pocket, it was TJ who made the adjustments, and the three right hands in a row, finally getting all the way off center and letting them fly. And so once from there, he closed the show. So the point being is, there's a big debate now about, like, is obviously what kind of coaching he's got has brought him to an impressive level. The question is, can it take him to the very next one or two? Because I do think he has it. Remember, guys, he's only 27 years old. The thing that was really stunning to me is TJ, however old he is, I think in his early 30s, right around then, how is the guy who's 26, 27, who's training hard and is a better athlete, arguably anyway, how is he making less technical progress? That doesn't make any sense, right? That's hard to understand. Usually those guys in that window that Cody's in, those are the guys who are making huge leaps fight over fight, which is why I thought the second fight might be very different. And it didn't look to me like he made a whole lot of adjustments. So you have to sort of wonder what's going on in the training environment. I'm too far removed to know, but something's not adding up in that space, and I think he needs to have a long talk with the people around him about what his next move should be, because he's got another gear, but he's got to put the right conditions in place to get it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Let's also look at another highlight from the weekend, the UFC's big press conference. What did you make of the UFC announcing Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier, even though apparently the contracts haven't been signed yet? And then you got Nate Diaz storming off after the presser, talking about all this stuff about how he's not going to fight. What did you make of the situation? And do you think they've sort of potentially set themselves up for another GSP Bisping situation?
No, it's interesting. I was told the contracts were signed. Did you hear that they weren't?
We saw, who was it? I want to say it was Dustin Poirier who was saying, look, Nate Diaz will always show up when a contract is signed. Let's hope that he signs that contract. I think he was saying that he had it recently in his inbox and he's sort of about to sign the bout agreement.
My understanding is...
but we could be completely wrong. They are signed?
No. Like, I don't have... I've got to... Okay, I could be wrong. My understanding is it's signed. But that doesn't mean, like, what do you can just retire, like you're not going to fight or pull out, injury. I mean, there's it's even if it's signed, there's all kinds of ways that could blow up. But okay, so one more time, go back to the question. Do I think the fight's going to happen? Sorry, I got derailed on the
Yeah, well, what do you think of the UFC sort of announcing it? If the contracts aren't signed, I don't know, they could be. And also Nate Diaz storming off. Do you see this fight actually happening? He looks pretty unhappy.
He does look pretty unhappy. And some of the things I've been talking about with folks behind the scenes make it a lot worse than what's been made public.
Really?
I'm really not at liberty. Yeah, much significantly. I still think that the fight might happen. In fact, I'm pretty confident that it will in the end, because you just have to ask yourself, why did Nate Diaz even potentially agree to this contest, right? Like, what was it that pulled him out? And I actually asked Dustin Poirier that on Monday, and he didn't really know, because you never really do, right? You might have an understanding, but it seems to me that, like, a lot of reasons probably, right? But one of the big ones is, I think Nate likes his chances. It's more than that. It's about the position that Dustin is in. Dustin's at the top of that division or pretty dang close to it. So if you beat him, boy, you're right up there. And I know that Nate doesn't necessarily care about titles, but title fights are where money fights are. Like, quite literally, that's how you get paid, the big dollars. So, being in that atmosphere is usually better for your career anyway. So I think between the two, that's probably why he wanted to do it. Now, whether the disrespect about announcing the Conor fight will hinder him, whether he feels like he's being under-promoted, I guess we'll have to see in due time. But if I had to lean one way or the other, I would say that here's the thing. The Diaz brothers have cried about disrespect for so long that folks are just like, oh, this again, how true could it be? My understanding is on this one, it's as true as very true. Like, very true. And God, I wish I could talk about it. I just can't. But long story short is, if I was him, I would understand completely his complaints about feeling like he is terribly underpromoted. Remember, guys, he complained that he was underpromoted by the UFC for a long time. And the Conor thing kind of showed up and carried its own momentum, where as long as it was a Conor and Nate thing going on, he could just get promoted, because how could he not? He was Conor's freaking opponent, right? But how do they promote Nate? I don't think they've ever known how to promote Nate. I still don't think they know how to promote Nate unless he's Conor's opponent, in which case, again, it kind of just takes care of itself. So why would we think those issues have gone away? They haven't. And his distrust of them, and mistrust rather, hasn't gone away either. In the end, though, I still think the fight happens.
Okay, just quickly, I want to move on. I want to ask something about MSG, but I'll just quickly read you the quote. It says here it's from Ariel Helwani's MMA show. Admittedly, I haven't watched the interview, but it said, I don't believe the fight's in jeopardy. No, I would have heard something. I have the bout agreement in my inbox. I'm about to sign it and send it off, so everything's moving forward. And then he moves on, and then he says, so as long as he shows up November 3rd, I'm not sure if he signed a contract yet, but he's a guy that follows through. So I just wanted to clarify. Yeah. But if I'm hoping that the contract is signed, but obviously you outlined some other interesting issues that, may arise in there. So just quickly to move on, obviously Madison Square Garden is fast approaching. November 3rd, we sort of asked GSP, hey, would you be interested in potentially fighting on that card? Is that realistic? He sort of said, yeah, maybe. There's also December in Toronto, obviously. But the thing is, it's unrealistic to think that, Conor Khabib happens in October, and then in November, he's fighting GSP somehow. So who do you think could potentially headline that MSG show? It looks like the UFC are looking for somebody big, and there aren't really that many options.
Yeah, and what's weird is I also asked Dustin Poirier, I was like, are you guys on the card, or are you the co-main event? He was like, we're the co-main event. Well, remember, the last 2 times I went to MSG, they had 3 title fights.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, you got a non-title co-main event for the MSG card. I mean, you just do the math. Who could it possibly be? Maybe Cormier, if they can get him in there, right? Maybe, but I don't know what the situation is with that. Plus, who would it be against? Gustafson's got the hamstring injury, so he's out. I guess you could do the winner of Smith and Ozdemir, but you're going to do another Ozdemir rematch if he wins, so that doesn't make any sense. So I mean, they're going to save what? Cyborg for December or New Year's Eve, so that's out. Lesnar is in the USADA testing pool, so that's out. I really have no effing clue unless they're going to pull out, a rabbit from their hat, or maybe Jones finds a way back somehow, and we're not aware of it, but I figured they would have announced that by now. I have racked my brain about this one too, and I've done some process of elimination here.
Yeah.
I do not know. I really don't know. I guess they're going to find someone maybe for St. Pierre. That's a possibility, but if he's going to wait, as he mentioned in Australia, for the winner of Conor versus Nate, then Conor versus Khabib, then that just wouldn't be possible. Ben Askren's chirping out there. They're going to have to get creative because of the existing properties, so to speak, out there. It doesn't appear like the obvious ones are available.
Let's talk about this Conor McGregor-Khabib fight quickly. Ariel Helwani has said that he believes this will be the biggest fight of all time, maybe break the 2 million buys mark with the pay-per-views. What do you think? Do you believe it can reach that level? Do you think it will be the most watched fight on pay-per-view of all time when it comes to the UFC?
Yeah, I mean, I know every time someone's like, this could be the biggest, everyone else comes back and says, oh my God, it's fight hyperbole. What are we talking about? Let's, stop that. Again, you want to see how it's promoted, but these are one of those fights that doesn't need a lot of promotion. I think Ariel's right. I don't know that it needs a lot of for all of the pushback against hyperbole. Normally, I'm in favor of, not this time, and not with this one. It's you struggle to think of what could be bigger, both in its history and I guess some of those Pride shows. Fedor versus Krokop back in the day, but that wasn't. Well, I mean, maybe it was pay-per-view here, but not natively in Japan when it was put on. Is it bigger than that? I probably. I think Conor has reached a level of MMA superstardom that no one else really has. Ronda probably was ahead of him in many ways, but that's not the case anymore. Certainly not in the MMA space. And then Khabib is like the ultimate foil, right? So, and maybe ultimately the better guy. I guess we're going to see. But the point being is, I think Ariel's absolutely right. I completely share the opinion that it will likely supersede 2 million pay-per-view buys. I do think it'll be the biggest MMA pay-per-view of all time. And, what the result's going to be, it's anyone's guess. But in terms of a business standpoint, as long as they don't fuck up the promotion, which it's going to be really hard to fuck that one up, it should be fine.
And I guess the interesting thing is that Dana White said there will be no world tour. Do you think, in a way, this is kind of a good thing? Kind of adds more of a build-up for the first time that Khabib and Conor square off, which may likely be during fight week, which I know, like with UFC 202, before that press conference, before the water bottle throwing incident, it just seemed a little bit lukewarm, and then that press conference really sort of set the stage for everything. Do you think that, if they do that first face-off during, and I'm not saying that there's going to be another incident or anything, but that first face-off, people's curiosity to see it may sort of light the fire the way UFC 202's press conference did?
Yeah, remember with Mayweather-Pacquiao, they just did the one presser. That was it. And they had the face-off, and everyone was there, and everyone got their assets, and everyone turned it into something. And that's really all you need. You probably just need one big press conference, maybe in LA, one big press conference in New York, something like that. You don't need a whole lot. Just get the one, get the face-offs, get the sound bites. You've already got the bus throwing. You've already got anything you could possibly need with Conor, right? I mean, there's so much with him. Yeah. You get all the stuff that because I think there is probably something like, oh, Conor's back, that's great. Hey, who's he fighting? Filling in that for all the casual fans, that 1 million to 2 million range, all those folks who would be interested, they just need to be sold a little bit on it. That's where like a big press conference would come in, and then the rest of the UFC's hype machine gets involved. Undefeated, you guys know all the whole story. But I think you could just do one big presser in a major media market, and you'd be fine.
I love it because the biggest hype piece for the UFC is just Joe Rogan talking about fights with music playing in the background. And it's just the most tried and true way the UFC have done hyping for fights before. Let me ask you this, Luke. If Khabib goes on to beat Conor McGregor, and then eventually, let's say, and this is in a perfect world scenario, he fights GSP, and let's say he beats GSP as well. How big of a star can Khabib get? Do you believe he could reach the Conor McGregor level? Do you think there's a ceiling there? How big of a, I suppose, celebrity star draw can he become if he wins these two fights?
You know, it's funny. Amanda Nunes beat Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey, and she's not a star at all. I mean, not much of one. Not here. I don't know how big she is in Brazil, but you know, she's an incredible talent, and she's certainly a bigger name than she would have been had she not had those fights. So it's not like there was no effect, but there was very little in the way of turning her into some kind of pay-per-view commodity. Now, Khabib is different. I think I've already seen much more natural, organic enthusiasm for someone like Khabib, certainly in his home country of Russia, and in a lot of other places as well, right? And so I would say that, you know, look, if you beat Conor, look what it did for Nate Diaz. It did a lot. So I think it would do a lot for Khabib. And you beat GSP, I mean, you're talking about just that would be a ridiculous resume if he ever got to that level, right? You're talking about GOAT status nearly at that point, nearly. But I would say I would not expect another Amanda Nunes scenario because the fights she was in, they were all sort of UFC 200 wasn't poorly promoted, but her position relative to Tate was, and then they just didn't give her a fair shake at all. It was a 207 against Ronda Rousey. I mean, they just never really tried with her. This one, I feel like they're going to try with Khabib's been trying himself. So what I would say is, in a long-winded way of answering your question, is I think it would definitely turn him into a huge star. But bigger than Conor, Conor's special, man. Conor is a guy who is this incredibly dynamic personality. He's incredibly dynamic on the microphone, on camera, as a showman, walking to the arena, walking to the cage, inside the cage itself. There's something magnetizing about him. Khabib has some of those same things, but not all of them. And that's okay. You can still be a huge star without being necessarily that big. So bigger than him? No, but pretty dang big, yes.
Awesome. Well, look, we really appreciate the time. Luke, a classic chat as always. Thank you so much for coming back on the program, guys. Make sure to catch Luke on the MMA Hour every single Monday and check out the Luke Thomas Show on SiriusXM Rush 93, Monday through to Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, also follow him on Twitter at LThomasNews. Thank you so much for your time, man. Really, really appreciate it. And I think we'll get you on a lot sooner next time because we miss our fix of Luke Thomas in between these big breaks.
Feeling is mutual. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, guys, there you go. Luke Thomas, a guy that we've known for quite some time. And wow, how about that? Those books are definitely real, Casper. There's no doubt about that now. And I don't know, he kind of took the books out of similar areas. There could be a secret trapdoor down the other side for all we know. And
no doubt.
Submission Radio memoirs on their way to Luke Thomas in a number of weeks. Like we said, a lot of sexual stories with a number of characters in the MMA world, primarily Ariel Helwani. Now, let's talk.
It's like the Dan Peterman memoirs in Seinfeld. we bought a bunch of stories from people, paid people off, and now they're going to be in the Submission Radio memoirs.
That's right. Yeah, we've been paying Jim Edwards off. We've been paying James Lynch off. Basically,
Damon
James
Martin,
Lynch,
Adam Hill, everybody.
They're not gonna have any stories. Well, you know, Adam Hill looking to sort of reduce his MMA coverage, so he doesn't need a lot of those stories anymore. And bang, they're straight in the memoirs.
I think we bought some from Heidi Fang as well.
Yeah, and then James Lynch dirtied the pants. He was himself returning. So. There's a little reference there. Now, quickly, as we wrap things up, Mission Impossible. I saw Mission Impossible. Casper saw Mission Impossible. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it in Sydney. We were talking about it with our videographer, Christian, who's got an awesome Facebook page. Casper, off the top of my head, what is the name of
Box Office Royale with
Box
Cheese?
Office with Cheese. Jump on there. You guys, our videographer, Christian, runs that page, and you guys can vote on a whole bunch of awesome things, which is the best show of all time, best character of all time. We're on that page. We love it. Etc., etc. Jump on, like it, and do that. But the reason why I bring that up is Christian is quite a critic when it comes to movies. And we brought up Mission Impossible with him and sort of talking about it a little bit, but didn't really get a chance to give it an official Timothy Johnson mustache rating cast. So 97% Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb has it on a high rating. People are saying it's one of the greatest Mission Impossible movies of all time. And you know me, I love Tom Cruise. But watching this movie, I was actually a bit disappointed. I expected more. I think I looked at these reviews too much. I expected it to be the best Mission Impossible of all time. I was disappointed. To me, there were too many chases back to back to back. I'm not much of a chase guy. You know?
Don't love the chase.
It's a little bit like this. I like a good story behind the chase. And I feel like when there's too many chases back to back, too much action and shit happening back to back, and it just kind of loses its meaning and its value. And I like things to be set up more. When it's back to back to back to back, sometimes I seem to zone out of the picture and zone out when I'm watching the movie. So I found myself a little bit bored in some of those situations. Henry Cavill, you know, this is a guy that was a bit disappointing to me in this movie as well. I expected more from him. I'm curious to hear what you think about him as well. Mm-hmm. And the plot itself, I just didn't get a great villain in it. I need a strong villain for the Mission Impossible movies to really mean something to me. I really like Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible 3, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
And I think this movie needed something like this. Tom Cruise, you know, he was great in the sense that he does a lot of his own action scenes, but even Tom Cruise, and I don't know, I've spoken to a few actors before and some acting teachers, and they've said they're not big fans of Tom Cruise. And I've always stood up for Tom Cruise because I think he's got some kick-ass movies. You can look at Jerry Maguire, you can look at Collateral, you could look at Edge of Tomorrow, A Few Good Men, the list goes on. But with this, I don't want to say he phoned it in, but I don't know, a little bit. I saw him acting from time to time in this movie, and I don't see him acting as often. It does happen more lately, sometimes in Jack Reaches he's doing it, especially in the latest one. So to me, I wasn't as sold on it. I felt like it dragged on a little bit long. Henry Cavill and the twists and turns were predictable. I already saw it from the beginning. There were some awesome action sequences in terms of fighting and stuff like that. Obviously, Tom Cruise doing his own stunts makes for some nice cinematography, some nice pictures, the shots looking good. But in general, Casper, I was a little bit disappointed. So to me, when I'm giving out this Timothy Johnson mustaches, and I have to be honest, and I did give someone an exclusive review of the Skyscraper movie, which for the first time, the Timothy Johnson mustaches went into the minus territory.
Wow.
-1 or 2 mustaches. With this movie, I have to give it 2.5 Timothy Johnson mustaches. It's better than The Equalizer 2. It's better than The Equalizer 2. You can't discount the fact that some of those scenes look great. You can't discount the fact that, you know, there's some good fight scenes, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. What about you, Cass?
I love the first fight scene in the movie. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it was just a lot of different styles, and I think it kind of, I would say it set the tone, but it sort of came out of nowhere, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck is happening? And it was just a really, really well put together, really well choreographed fight scene. As far as the story itself, I thought it was a little bit convoluted. There were times where I want to rewatch the movie, to be honest, because there was times where I was just like, what's going on? This is pretty confusing. There's a lot of twists and turns. I agree with you about the bad guy not really being clear at all. And I think Henry Cavill, I don't know if I said this on the show last week or I've said it before, I don't really rate him as an actor. I want to like him because he seems like a very nice guy. Seems like the kind of guy where like you go out with him for drinks and he ends up sneakily buying like majority of the rounds because you know that you don't have much money, but he doesn't want to rub it in your face and look like a big shot. He'll just quietly pay for drinks, and he'll probably even like drive you home or like ask you to text him so that he knows you got home safe. He seems like that kind of guy. But I didn't really like him as Superman. I didn't like him in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. because I feel like that's another spy movie where, you know, every single time he was in danger, he just had this like, I'm always going to get out of it look on his face. Like when you watch James Bond and James Bond's like about to die, you're like, you know that he's going to get out of it, but you can see the fear in his eyes. You can see him thinking. Henry Cavill looked like he was ordering tea throughout that whole movie. And for me, and I said this to you, I was like, I want to see what he's like in this movie because this could be the difference maker. I don't know. I didn't really rate his acting. I think I don't think he really played his character very well, and to be honest, he came off really dumb a lot of the times. And I just thought, I don't understand whether that's problems with the script, the direction of the movie, or just Henry Cavill's acting. I'm not pointing any fingers, but sometimes when you look at Cavill's character in this movie, you think he is really, really dumb. For a guy who's kind of meant to be like, you know, the elite like Tom Cruise, he's making some stupid mistakes that pedestrians like us wouldn't make. Overall, though, I like the chases. I like the twists and turns. Like I said, I want to rewatch it again to sort of fully understand it. It's a pretty long movie, but I think the payoff at the end was pretty good. And I think after the second half, maybe the final third part of the movie, it's like a roller coaster, and it really, really, really gets going. And I think with Mission Impossible, there's some fun flashbacks. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's some things that made me think of Mission Impossible 2, where it was filmed in Sydney, and it's kind of all about that holy shit moment, like in the first one, where he's dangling off that wire, or when they're in the air and they're flying on bikes, basically. So this movie, it had a good payoff, it had a good roller coaster ride, and there's a lot of, I guess, flashbacks to previous Mission Impossibles as well. So I'm gonna give it a 3. A little bit nicer than yourself, Dennis. I think it was an above average movie, but it doesn't get into that amazing territory of, say, what's the Inception, or like the first John Wick. It's not up there for me, or like the Dark Knight Rises. So 3, that's all it gets for me.
Yeah. Would it be your favorite Mission Impossible, or? No,
I like the third one with Philip Seymour Hoffman. And there was the other one, I don't know if you can remember it, where at the end the bad guy gets trapped in like that glass case. He goes down that chute, and then the glass comes up, and he's stuck. And I think it's the same thing that happened to Tom Cruise previously. Or no, it's the same thing that happened to Tom Cruise's friend, the chick. She was trapped in a glass case. Tom Cruise had to watch her die. And at the end of the movie, this bad guy's trapped in a glass case. Do you remember which one that was? Maybe 5 or 4, one of them.
Right. It sounds familiar.
This isn't my favorite, though. Yeah.
I was going to say, I like number 1 as well. That one was pretty crazy, too. But
do you like number 2? Because I actually really like number 2. It was stupid and ridiculous, but I really liked it. Probably because I was a young, dumb kid when I watched it, and I have good memories.
I remember I didn't like it, but I could see why you would like it, because it was a fun one. I remember him hanging up as Rock or whatever, right? And he's just like rock climbing as Rock. Yeah. And he's got the sunglasses. Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I think the good thing about Mission Impossible and the franchises, all the movies are pretty solid. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really feel this one. But anyway, guys, there it is. Submission Radio. We are back. We'll catch you guys again next week, same time. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Like Casper mentioned at the start, it's at Submission Radio now on Twitter. We are on Instagram as well, so find us on that. Some fun, candid, perhaps sexy photos coming this week. So with that, have a great week, and we'll catch you guys next week.